Welcome to today's edition of the Race Breakdown. I'm Kevin Sully, and we're going to be looking at Josh Kerr's British record in the indoor mile. 3:48, just completely smashed the existing mark of 3:52. He did it at the BU Last Chance meet on that quick track at Boston University. And Kerr, he'd run 3:52 earlier this year in a Millrose race that he lost to Oliver Hoare. So in this setting, a few more weeks of training, not having to worry about competition, and on a fast track like BU, I think most people thought he was going to be able to get that British record. Now, was he going to be able to go 3:48 and move to number 3 all time? Depends how optimistic you were on Kerr's chances. But this pace early on, set up by his Brooks Beast teammate Walid Suleiman, who did a good job easing him into the race, because we're going to see a huge negative split on the back half. And I think that really helped Suleiman set the tempo early on in this race, knowing, hey, I don't need to put him on 3:48 pace early on. Kerr is so strong in the middle and back half of the race. I just need to get him through 156, 155, and then he will take over from there. And that's exactly what happened. Let's take a peek over at those splits. First two laps, 28.89 for Kerr, and then 28.26. So 58.15. Again, solid start. That's going to get you, if you just take 58s all the way down for quarter mile splits, that's going to take you to 156 at the half and then 3:52 for the mile. He's going to accelerate off that pace, but that is a good early tempo that Suleiman is setting. Let's go back to our race now. Nice straight single file line there. A lot of PRs throughout this field too. We always focus on the person who wins the race, and when someone runs through 48, you're going to take note, but it should be remembered that this race hosted a lot of personal bests from other pros and collegians as well. So this is lap number 3 here. Suleiman checking his watch again. He's right on schedule. Looks so comfortable. No panic at all. And Kerr just biding his time there, sitting in second place. And I think all those races that Kerr ran last year and the previous year where he pushed from the middle really helped him in this effort. It's tough to do a quick time trial when all the mile races you do end up being sit and kicks, but that's just not Kerr's style. Kerr likes to push, and I think that helped him here. So Suleiman steps off. Let's check this. So it says 155.9 on the clock, but let's go over here. Yeah, so 156.75 for halfway. So again, a solid split, but he's going to need to pick it up if he's going to get under 350. And you're going to see coming up here some spectacular splits by Kerr once Suleiman is gone, which is just remarkable. It's just remarkable to see the type of shape, the type of form that Kerr is in. Usually when you see a rabbit step off, especially in a mile race, they slow down a bit. But Kerr here pushing, and this is where the record was set. These 2 laps here from 800 to 1200. If this was outdoor track, everybody talks about the third lap being key. Indoors, lap 5 and 6, Kerr just goes full gas here, all the way down with these 2 splits, and that's incredibly impressive. Suleiman now turned into the number 1 cheerleader there after his work is done setting the pace. But look at how much distance Kerr is putting on everybody else. Again, there's some massive personal bests and really fast times going on behind him, but this clearly becomes Josh Kerr versus the clock. And at this point, you knew, okay, 3:52 British record is going to get smashed because he's coming through at 2:51 in a little bit of change. Let's switch over. So he went 27.69 and then 27.62 back to back. That is a phenomenal set of splits for Josh Kerr. And that's when you know the record is gone, because he could close in 60 at this point and still run a 3:52. And that's when sub 350 gets factored in. And that's where you start thinking, all right, where is this going to rank on the all-time list? Because 3:52 at 1200 is a serious split, to say the least. And he's actually going to slow down a bit here. And you don't blame him because of how fast he's run those previous 2 laps. But he doesn't slow down enough to take away that sub 350. This is where you think, man, if you had a rabbit that could go to 1200, you know, someone takes over from 8 to 12 to really get him through, could he have squeezed out a little more? But he got so much out of this race. So he's going to hit the bell around 320. So you can simply do the math there. He just needs to close in a 30 to break 350. And he's going to go well under that. But at this point, you see Kerr just full out doing everything he can to go as quick as he can to get a mark that's going to stand on the all-time list. And here he is into the final 50, arms pumping, and he's going to stop the clock right at 3:48 high. He's pumped up. So let's look at, before we go back to his reaction. So he goes 28.14 and then 28.69. So 3:48.87. So he was 156 and then to a 3:48. So 156 and basically a 152 close. And I know everybody, they run a PR, they run their best time ever. They set a record. They say, and I think I could even go faster. And I think I could even go faster. And they always really focus on the things that they didn't do well, and they don't take into account the things that went perfectly well. So in this case, Kerr had great pacing, a great track, obviously good training leading up to it. But if you look at those two splits, 156 and 152, you think, man, maybe if he went out in 155, he could have gone even quicker. Let's see where it sits on the all-time list. Kejelcha, Garouge, and Kerr. Kejelcha has another performance up there as well. But this is the group, and Kejelcha did it in Boston, similar time of year back in 2019. But this was a masterful performance for Josh Kerr. They had the 1,500-meter split taken as well, too. So obviously he breaks the British 1,500-meter record and the British mile record as well. Outdoors, going to be kind of tricky. 3:46, the British mile record outdoors. But, hey, are you going to put anything past Josh Kerr at this point? Let's see the celebration and the reaction. Obviously very appreciative of Suleiman's work out there. Suleiman looks as excited as Josh Kerr. You love to see that. Takes off the shoe, and you realize that he actually wrote British record on his spike before the race even began. That's how confident Kerr was in his performance. We got a picture here. Let's show that British record. Josh Kerr. Something else there. So I like to look at this in terms of what it's going to mean for the outdoor season as well, because Josh Kerr's not running World Indoors. And, you've had two really fast time trial type races this year in the 1,500 and the mile. So you have this one, the 3:48, and then you look at Jakob Ingebrigtsen's world record in the indoor 1,500. Let's just pull that up. Let's just go over to men's 1,500. And you see Jakob 3:30.6, which most conversions would tell you is quicker than 3:48. The Leven track versus the BU track. You can do all the math in your head, but Kerr is right there, and there's a reason he's a bronze medalist, and I'm excited to see him get in a race with Jakob, with Oliver Hoare, with some of these top-tier milers who like to push the pace from the beginning, because that just makes this mile race, these 1,500-meter races, so much more interesting. So Josh Kerr, 3:48, British record. What a sensational race. You can watch the full race if you want on our YouTube page. Stay tuned for more race breakdowns.